Hello! Today's topic is who can be a medium? And the answer is anyone. That's it, end of video. Well, it could be the end of the video. There are some people who truly believe that you are either born a medium or you are not. And I've noticed that culturally, that tends to be a British thing. There are more British mediums or more people in the UK who believe in mediumship who think it is a something you're born with, some kind of gift. Um, and what I've heard some famous, really good mediums say, British mediums, is for proof of that, if you look at a well-known medium and go through their family history, there's often a parent or a grandparent that either was a medium or exhibited mediumship-like abilities. But my answer to that is because anyone can do mediumship, it's part of being human. It is a thing that it's a part of being a human being that we filter out. Um, and this is the analogy I make. I believe that people in spirit are constantly with us from the moment of birth. But because that input that we're getting, that mediums translate into words, is because it's constantly there, we filter it out. In the same way that right now, as you're listening to this video, you're probably not aware of the sensation, the physical sensation of your feet inside your shoes, or your butt on the surface of whatever you're sitting on. But now that I'm talking about that, you are aware of that, and you weren't aware of that physical input. Because our brains, the human brain, this is a known scientific fact, the human brain filters out an enormous amount of information, especially visually. And there's just so much that we can take in. There's a great YouTube video, I should put a link below if I can find it, where you're watching people bounce a basketball back and forth, and you're trying to count, I think it's between black shirts and white shirts, and then they play back the exact same video, and if you rewind it, you can see, and someone in a huge gorilla costume just walks in, waves, and walks out, and you don't see it because you're so busy counting who passes what ball to each other. It's fascinating the obvious that we can filter out. So I think that we're constantly getting input from them. There's some part of us who's always aware of those feelings, but we filter it out because it's always there. Like the feeling of your bottom sitting on whatever surface you're sitting on. You don't constantly think about that. Eventually your brain just sort of stops paying attention to that. So, and if that input is happening from birth, that's why. So I found out at the end of my mom's life that she could feel people with her in her house, in the room with her, not just in her own home, but it frightened her. And she didn't realize, I didn't realize that was mediumship back then. That's exactly how I started as a child. I could feel people in the house with me. But I knew they were people. I didn't get them as ghosts or spirits or anything spooky. I was just frustrated. I literally went knocking on the walls of our house trying to find secret passages like I'd seen in cartoons, because I knew there were people in the house with me. I could feel them, but I couldn't see them. And so that's how I made sense of that as a child, and then it just became a normal thing as I grew up. But it turns out my mom also was the same way, and it frightened her. And I didn't know that was mediumship. For decades, I didn't know that that's what I was experiencing. So and again, I know people watching this, especially if they believe it's an inherited or genetic thing, I've just made their case. Well, your mom could, and so that's why you've got that genetic component. I think it's because anybody can do it. I really do. I liken mediumship to playing a sport or a musical instrument. Pretty much anyone can do that, and some are just better at it than others, and some are naturally inclined and are better at it, and some really work at it, and they get better at it. I know some outstanding musicians. Some of them just were natural with whatever they do for musicianship, and they were just naturally good, and others I know have worked really hard at it since childhood. So mediumship, I think, is the same way. When my grandmother passed, I was in my 20s, I could feel her behind me, behind my right shoulder, almost constantly for weeks after my grandma passed. And I didn't know that was mediumship. I thought it was because we had been so close that I could feel her. And even though I didn't know then, that is narrating what you're feeling, narrating. I feel there's putting words to it. I can feel a woman behind me. I know it's an older woman. I know it's my grandma. Putting words to those feelings is mediumship. That's what the rest of the world calls mediumship, is just translating those feelings. So it is not, it's not a special gift. It's not a magical power. It's not just for a select special few people. Literally anyone can do it. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just think it's a human being trait. And I'll tell you, I've gotten some amazing readings from brand new mediums before they learn to get in their own way. And that's what I want to talk about. That's the topic of next week's video, is memorable readings that I have received as a client, as a sitter for people practicing on me. So that'll be next week. Mediumship is a natural thing anyone can do. That's the point of this video. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.